I think Marvel appeals to people because, first of all, the characters are so good. And this was an important thing as far as Marvel's perspective on telling their stories and doing comics. They wanted characters who were real, who had flaws, who had problems. I think Stan Lee said that they could use their superpowers to save the world, but they still had bad breath or acne or had problems with their girlfriends or at home. So I think that makes them really, really interesting. And I also think the stories are pretty epic. And if you have characters who are flawed and yet they do the right thing and they fight for doing the right things for people in need and for honor and for the greater good, I think that's very, very appealing. And I think the Marvel company has had that kind of a mindset where they believe in championing the underdog and advocating for causes. Marvel was early back in the '60s, having a black superhero, which was unusual, and one of the early comics that they did with Nick Fury had a racially diverse group in their platoon. So I think they've always been advocates for the greater good from their perspective. But I think that's going back to the Marvel Comics days. But I think with the Marvel Studios, they've just wanted to tell really, really, really good stories and do it with a sense of humor. And with just kind of an epic battles, as well as the small interactions between people that are very, very human. Well, I really enjoyed learning about the backstory about Martin Goodman and the history of Marvel. Believe it or not, I was not a comic book reader growing up, but I was a movie fan. But I found the history really, really interesting, how it started from pulp magazines all the way back in the 30s, and then how it grew over the years. Stan Lee's involvement as an editor and a creative influence. So all of that I found really, really interesting. It was really, really challenging to write about the business takeovers and the fight for Marvel, and the business dealings and the bonds that they sold, and all of that that financial difficulty that they went through and the fights in the courts. Keeping track of that was really, really challenging, and trying to write about it in a clear and concise way that didn't lose people in the details was really difficult. Well, I'm a great admirer of Japanese culture. I practiced Aikido for 12 years until I had to stop due to injuries. I very much hope to get to visit your country one day. I have not been to Japan, but I would love to visit your beautiful country, see the sights, eat your food. But in the meantime, I would just say, domo arigato gozaimasu. Thank you for publishing the Marvel Studios story in Japanese.